Last time we were talking about the female loneliness, and this video got referenced, so let's see how the male loneliness is.
I regret to inform you, the men are not okay. That's right, folks, the men are not okay. The
I
men
knew
have
that.
no friends, no girlfriend, no college education, no money, are breaking their legs and inserting metal rods into their bones to be a few inches taller, and
what
listening
the fuck?
to AI Batman help them overcome their pornography addictions.
You deserve real love.
Turns out the society that was built by and allegedly for men
What
has
the
indeed
heck?
let them down. Now you might be thinking, oh look, another boo-hoo poor men video by Shoe on Head. Yes. And if you have a problem with that, tune into literally anything else.
Tune into literally anything, yes. I like the way she just says, if you don't like my content, just fuck off. But yeah, Jesus Christ, that men don't sound okay at all.
Men are in a crisis.
I want an energy drink now.
Nobody really cares. And the people who do care just seem like the people who want to sell them shit.
Well, yes, that second part is pretty accurate. I do get the feeling that most people don't care, or they're like, yes, let's raise awareness for men. Oh, let's move on from them. It's like that one short period where you get one day a year where people are like, man, let's celebrate them, and then they're immediately going like, shut the fuck up.
Me, I'm different. So before we get into this, let's quickly get into today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Holzkern. Holzkern is a young Austrian company
2 minutes of ads for the watch chat.
All natural materials. Their high
So if you
quality
want to skip,
timepieces come in various designs for both men and women, making them the perfect gift for any occasion.
Let's raise awareness for men. Men are poor. Never mind.
They look very classy, especially the men's watch collection.
Hey, look.
I was pretty impressed with the silver casing.
If you get a watch,
marble dial
women will
of the
think you're
natural
fancy
swatch,
and
which made for
rich.
a great gift for my boyfriend.
And you might get
He
more
especially
gold
loved the
diggers.
casual yet stylish appearance, making it an ideal choice to wear both at work and at home. I'm also really happy with the watch I picked out. It's made from black and white marble and features a nice black leather bracelet that just feels so comfy.
I have a watch from my dad, but I still haven't worn a watch, honestly.
And necklaces.
I just don't like having stuff on my wrist because it affects how I move my hand on my keyboard and on my mouse. And I am too lazy to take it off, put it back on every single day. Like the people that do that, they're the real MVPs. Having the patience to put on and take off jewelry and watches and stuff.
Use my special code SHOE15
Seriously,
at checkout.
you guys
that
are
will give
MVP.
you 15% off for all products store-wide. So go to the link down below and choose your own unique piece of nature. Thank you, Holzkern, for sponsoring this video, and thank you, the viewer, as always, for not skipping the ad.
You're welcome.
Men and boys struggling.
I never skip ads for other people because,
have come out
you know.
that have shown that young men are more lonely and single than ever before. But it's not just men. The women and children, too. It's predicted 45% of women will be single and childless by 2030.
Isn't this supposed to be a man video?
This is a good...
Why are we hijacking it with the women? Are men okay? Let me tell you about the women. I'm sorry, what?
The she-economy is booming, as they say. And meanwhile, men being single is treated like this.
New study explains why some single men are having a hard time finding a new partner.
Some of the music that they listen to speaks very derogatory.
Right. Yeah, men, stop listening
Seriously?
to derogatory music. Then maybe you won't be single. I don't know.
What? That was an actual news piece? Man, that is sad. Also, like, regarding your statistics, Kyuhimitsu, with Poland male to female suicide, the sad part that people take out of that, even though the ratio is 8-1, they would basically go like, oh look, 1 in 8 females are dying from suicide. It's terrible. The narrative is always spun differently, and somehow it's always taken to the point where, so what if it's about the man? Look at how bad it is for the women.
Well, I think men and
baffles
women being
me.
single and lonely kind of shows there might be something wrong with society. Perhaps we should address this, not just wave it off as empowering or pathetic. According to several different articles,
I don't know, like, there is definitely something wrong with society. It's called way too much bad marketing and focus shift on empowering. Like, it's definitely a misbalance caused by how social media is. Like, on social media, if you're a guy, and especially if you're a white guy, oof, you don't really get to have a say in anything anymore. Like, that's what it feels like.
Well, that's my source. I read about it on the internet. Research shows that people from individualist countries show a greater sense of loneliness. This is linked to socioeconomic development, increased education, a shift towards white-collar jobs, and urbanization. Japan also has an issue with loneliness. In fact, they have a whole movement of people.
They have a horrible situation.
Hikikomori. Did I say that right?
Hikikomori.
I don't care. Basically, postmodern hermits. Mostly young men who completely withdraw from society, secluding themselves in their rooms for months and years at a time. In 2010, there was an estimated 700,000 hikikomori in Japan. And today, it's estimated to be about 1.55 million. And because of things like this, people aren't having babies, so Japan's population has been in a sharp decline since 2011. It's gotten so bad
that Japan
crazy. Even produces videos of live-action women staring into the camera to help the hikikomori learn to cope with eye contact and
Excuse me, what? I'm sorry for laughing, but excuse me, what? How is this gonna make someone not feel uncomfortable? Like, just having a woman staring at you like that in a video. Not to mention it's different when it's face-to-face, man.
integrate them back
How does
into
this
society.
help?
So basically, if you want to know America's future, look no further than Japan. A lot of people, including myself, blame this partially on the rise of social media and technology. RIP to the king. Although technology makes things easier, it can also make us more atomized. Why go to the mall when I can just tap, buy a new microphone, and have it shipped to me in a day? Why hang out with friends when I can get all my social interaction I need from
I feel called
Twitter
out.
and streamers? Why go on dates and bother meeting women when I could just tap, Google big boob and get 2 million results? Or see
Hey, nowadays you can just have the AI generate you your perfect woman, and then you don't even have to care about anything. Just marry a robot. Easy.
my high school crush's holes on OnlyFans for only $5. Instant dopamine, instant satisfaction, and hey, who even needs a real woman when you could just have an AI girlfriend? We're
See what I mean?
We're so f***ed. Dating apps really are the great Satan, and I'm convinced they've completely broken men's brains. Women on dating apps are picky. Women in general are picky, and I mean, naturally we are pickier. You know, we're the ones who carry the babies. At least for now. But on dating apps, you have to admit, it's a little insane.
You know the weirdest part, like, as a woman, I'm like, women are picky. I'm like, there are people that select partners based on the potential baby candidates, and I know that there are people like that, but I'm just like, really? To me, it's always been this is just in movies. There's no way this is real. Until the internet happened. And then I'm just like, holy shit, this is actually real. It's not a drill.
It's safe to say that the commodification of love and the window shopping of dating apps probably has to do a lot with the rise of lonely single men. Men are not just lonely when it comes to dating, they're lonely when it comes to friendship too. According to Vox, Americans are currently in a friendship recession, and men are being hit the hardest. The percentage of men who reported having at least 6 close friendships fell in half since the 90s. 1 in 5 men say they have no close friendships. Looking at
the problem with that, also hi Sublime. The problem with that is like, it's also the internet, because nowadays a lot of us have connections and friendships online, but not necessarily, you wouldn't necessarily say that those are close friends, because as close as you are, you can't actually touch those people, go out with them, go for a movie together, right? It's like very difficult to do outdoorsy stuff with people that you know online or people that are in different places. So like you meet a lot more people, but not so many that are within your radius.
All these statistics, the explosion of figures like Andrew Tate is not surprising at all.
I believe being a man is a blessing because it starts so difficult. I believe that every man is born without any value at all. I think that the world's never going to think you're important unless you make yourself important.
And recently, a new study came out about how young men are moving towards the right. And every other month, we, the liberal, sockdom, leftist, whatever you want to call the space online, performs the same song and dance. What's wrong with men? Why is this happening? Why don't we have a leftist Andrew Tate? We need to push men to the left. Andrew Tate rarely, if ever, talks about politics. Andrew Tate talks about men, and the left only talks about men when they talk about Andrew Tate. A few months ago, during one of the monthly song and dance...
That's a fair point. Oh, god damn it, that got me.
Some progressive people I follow made the mistake of addressing men's issues, and the even bigger mistake of pointing their finger at their own spaces for not doing enough to address said men's issues.
Recently, there were some statistics by healthcare company Cigna indicating that men are the loneliest generation. And addressing it doesn't mean that you turn your back on issues pertaining to women, but it does mean that we should be focused on what it is in society that is leading to this epidemic, what the left can do to offer solutions, and how we can basically fight back against the more nefarious figures who have filled the void that men are struggling with, people like Jordan Peterson and what have you. Now, recently, Vosh, who's a popular streamer, had tweeted this thread that I think is really, really important to address. He writes, "I cannot stress enough how important it is to understand that 12-year-old white boys on Twitch are not being pulled into fascism because of some Machiavellian desire to preserve and expand their privileges. It's because the right talks to them and the left doesn't." The responses to these tweets and this content were very normal, level-headed, and respectful.
I'm still shocked over the fact that this was on the news. Damn.
Me when I lie. LMAO, cry about it. Boo f***ing who? Oh no, poor widow men having problems. Boo f***ing who? Grow the f*** up then.
Wow.
Have men considered being smarter? I'm enjoying all these sad little moids and their sad little tweets about their sad, pathetic lives. Sounds like a personal problem. Is the lack of compassion for men in the room with us right now? Maybe men are just not good people then. I'm so f***ing...
What is wrong with humanity? Jesus Christ, how vicious and keyboard warrior Twitterinos do you have to be? Twitter is a cesspool, first of all. I don't even know why the heck we would want to go on Twitter. It's literally a cesspool of people that are so frustrated with life that they spend their entire adult life being on Twitter, bitching and complaining about things because they can't even clean their ass properly. They can't even wash their ass. So they sit there with their keyboards and they vent and rot. This is so much brain rot in these few tweets. Not to mention the whole propagating, oh, men should grow balls, they should man up, they should be men, right? And I'm just like, yes, I see. You're the same people that want equality, but in the sense that women should have their asses wiped by men and men should slave for you, and that's it, right? Equality in quotation marks.
Tired of people trying to make male loneliness a huge societal problem.
It is a problem!
These are not my responsibility, and I shouldn't have to be punished because they can't get their shit together as human beings. Grow the f*** up. Why are we trying to win these entitled little predators over? The left isn't for them. That's why they go right in the first place. We're all lonely
Jesus
and alienated.
Christ.
It's young men going to the alt-right in droves. The problem isn't our messaging, it's them. It's literally not our problem. Men flock to Andrew Tate not because they're lonely, but because they're bigots. Hope this helps. Nah, it's just misogynists being louder than before and not getting laid. LOL. Cry harder, losers. 90% of all homicides recorded worldwide were committed by male perpetrators.
People are so caring. You can tell it's oozing sympathy and understanding and maturity from them. Yeah. They're so caring and understanding and sympathetic and lovely that they went a full circle and it hit so hard that somehow they ended up back where they started. Like they did a 360 on it. It's like, oof, we care so much that we ended up in the non-careville. Jesus Christ.
We should just get rid of all males, to be honest. This includes trans women, as they still retain male violence.
What is wrong with
the Tumblr feminists who were like, all men are sexist, rapists, male tears, penises are evil, blah 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 back in the day? Well, this is them now. Should've just let me cook back then. Listen up, chuckle.
Just let me cook. Oof.
I'm white, socially awkward, autistic, in my 40s, ugly, overweight, crippled, got a weird balding pattern, and have bad skin. You know what I didn't do? Choose to become a fascist. Because I recognize most of the sort that look like me are the problem. I may be hideously ugly and pathetic, but at least I'm not a fascist. Thank you for your input, buddy. You're, really helping the situation.
Jesus
the reason
Christ.
young men flock to alt-right MRA movements is because the left gives brain-dead advice to young men. We need to be more compassionate to them, for our own sake. I'm sorry, but how is respect women brain-dead advice? What advice? Don't rape? Don't be a rapist is bad advice? Help, I have no friends or community, I feel suicidal. Have you considered not raping? Act like a decent fucking human being, it's not-
How does she I wonder how many takes it took her to just stare at the fucking camera while saying like, have you considered not raping? Oh man. This type of this entire thing screams the whole debacle of all men, not all men type thing, right? Which is always like that touchy subject of wanting to just bang your head against the wall because people are allowed to apparently just make generalized statements about certain things and then turn around and go like, no, we only mean the bad apples, not the good apples. Like, then refer to them as the bad apples, maybe?
Not hard is brain-dead advice. Brain-dead advice like, get consent and don't be a Nazi and women are people. Walking up to men struggling with loneliness and depression like...
Kids, don't be racist.
Incredible.
How is, a tweet that says you should... men are lonely, and they're like, have you tried not raping? Huh? Have you tried not being fascist? Huh? Have you tried not being a Nazi? Huh? Excuse you? How? How do we get there?
My actual advice I would give to my teen boys as a leftist. 1. Always get enthusiastic consent. 2. Save the planet. 3. Don't say that. It's actually kind of racist. Like, what the f is this? How does this address men and their issues? It doesn't. Why does their advice always seem to be, become a liberal? Hey men, here's how to fix all your problems. Agree with me politically. Men flock to the MRA movement because they're the largest beneficiaries of MRA shit. Imagine saying women flock to women's rights activism because they're the biggest beneficiaries of women's rights. Like, no f***ing shit. Let's be honest. Aside from procreation purposes, men have become obsolete.
Wow.
Most women can find other methods of achieving orgasm without a man there. And speaking as a man, most of us are horrid to be around, and I don't blame any woman for just saying, no thanks.
What? What? Dude, are there actually people like this? Oh, buddy. There are at least 5 different issues with this. Okay, first of all, you're a guy. Check. Cool. Nice. Second of all, if we're being honest here, let's see. Men have no purpose. They've become obsolete. So your only purpose is what? In your eyes as a guy, your only purpose, you grew up thinking, I have no purpose in my life. I don't even know how to please a woman. By the way, did you know as a guy you can actually use a fucking sex toy on a woman? Did you know that? And why do you need to have a fucking purpose? Why can't you just fucking exist as a human being, man? What is wrong with him? And then, speaking as a man, most of us are horrid. Just because you have low self-esteem, mister, just because you have a very low self-esteem and you think you are horrid, that doesn't mean that you get to speak in the name of others. How do these people exist? How do you grow up? Who the fuck gives you the right to speak on behalf of half the planet? It's infuriating. Regardless of the fact he could be I don't care what he is. He could be a man, he could be a woman. I don't care. But like, most of us are horrid to be around. No, you're just talking to yourself in the mirror and then venting it on Twitter.
Oh my god, dude. This is what every Just Pearly Things tweet looks like to me. Just with the genders swapped. This is pathetic. You know what fixes male loneliness? F***ing off. As a man, I'll say this. Sit down, shut up, and beat one out. You'll feel better. I promise. Yeah, guys, just beat one out. Just off. Just watch porn. Batman will be very disappointed in all of
We keep going back to Batman being disappointed in you. Bruh, just give me a fucking break. Why do people think that if you jerk off you won't be lonely? Loneliness has nothing to do with porn. It has nothing to do with being horny. It has nothing to do with your hormones and wanting to get one out quick. It's a completely separate issue. And the fact that these people don't even know what loneliness means and yet they feel the need to comment on it, it's like, why is education so bad? Yeah, like when you jerk off, you're more lonely because you have the post-nut clarity of realizing that, well, you could have had sex, but no, instead you're there rubbing it off to yourself or to whatever fictional choice you have, and then you're like, I'm alone. And the realization hits you. And you're just like, yeah? And then you go on the internet and you get shamed. You get shamed for having apparently a pornography addiction. You get shamed for your choice of whatever you fap to. You get shamed for jerking off, but you also get shamed for being lonely. It's like, damn. And people wonder why, like, men are not okay. Or not even men. People in general are not okay.
of you. It's so funny how men feel entitled to a girlfriend. No, you sexist freak. When one side is like, wanting a girlfriend is sexist entitlement, and the other side is like, here's how to get a girlfriend. I don't know, bro. What happened to males just kicking
They can't
bucket?
pick
Now
one.
they just come on here and try to make their loneliness and misery.
Like, what is this tweet? Like, seriously, what is this tweet? This tweet is like, yeah, you should just die. How do you put this on the internet? These people should honestly, like, be locked up for posting this shit. They should be locked up for one day with a psychiatrist and forced into a mandatory conversation. And what goes through their fucking head to post that online? What is wrong with you?
Into some social justice issue. Oh, trust me. Men are still kicking the bucket. And when they're not giving mind-blowing
Quite a
advice
lot, yeah.
just to be a liberal, they're outright dismissing men's issues completely. It's not our job to educate them. Since men created the problem, they need to take steps to fix it. We have other things to care about.
Jesus
Men
Christ.
can figure out their own problems that they created. Again, it's not women's jobs to change how men are socialized. It's a man issue and y'all need to address that amongst yourselves. Men created their own problems. Men can
Wait, but it's a man issue too, to solve. But it's a man's job to change how women are socialized. It's always lovely when you swap words around in these statements, because you realize just how hypocritical people are.
Man issue and y'all need to address that amongst yourselves. Men created their own problems. Men can
Jesus
solve their
Christ.
own problems. The left is busy. Why does the well-being of other people concern me? Leftist, by the way. It's all systemic issues and societal factors and blah blah blah.
Some
until
people
it's a
really
man,
have
and then
no
suddenly
shame.
It's pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. This problem is just a consequence of the patriarchy. Now take a wild guess about which gender created the patriarchy. Solve your own problems and leave women alone.
Damn.
These people rightly mock the bootstraps rhetoric until the subject is a man, and then it's bootstraps all the way down. They would never talk about any other group this way. It's wild. And it's kind of like both sides are telling men to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, but one is like, I'll show you how, and the other is like, fuck off. And when they're not telling men to straight up fuck off, they're giving the 200 IQ answer that nobody has ever heard before. Just show your emotions, bro. And I'm not dismissing this problem, okay? I've made videos talking about this. Oh, you're crying at your grandfather's funeral? Okay, it. And studies have shown that men are scared to be vulnerable, even around the home. And can you blame them when the media says stupid like this? Fellas, is it woke to open up to your fellow men and discuss history? Men are socialized to believe strength, dominance, and stoicism are behaviors of a real man. Is it any surprise that men are lonely and have less friends nowadays? You have to be vulnerable to make friends. Don't tell me there aren't systemic problems affecting men. Now, while a lot of this may be...
You have to be vulnerable to have friends? Fuck, now I know I don't have friends.
True. Men have been socialized this way for centuries, and this is all relatively a new phenomenon. Toxic masculinity has existed forever. If anything, there's less toxic masculinity nowadays. The cultural embrace of, like, gender nonconformity, femboys, Harry Styles in a dress, Barbie movie, blah 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 blah. My point is, toxic masculinity did not just appear in the mid-2010s. But social media did, and the internet did, and the rise of dating apps did, and the housing crisis, and living in a country where the wealth inequality is worse than it was during the Gilded Age. That all happened recently. Oh my god, the privileged life these poor little boys must have, that their biggest problem is being lonely, i.e. so insufferable that nobody wants to sleep with them. So much more pressing than the poor distribution of wealth causing people to suffer food.
Like, as I said, these people don't understand what loneliness means. To a point, I can't even be infuriated or annoyed at these people, because this just shows a lack of education. This just shows, like, that they're too dumb to understand what they even talk about. To the point where I'm just like, well, your opinion has zero value to me. It goes in the trash, alongside your education, apparently.
Food and housing insecurity. Boo-hoo, you're lonely and have no friends and
this just perpetuates an issue where, like, you're not allowed to talk because if you talk, you get ganked on, or you get cold slurs, or you get insulted. If you don't talk, well, then you're not accessible and you're not able to, like, be a normal human being, so there's something must be wrong with you. It's just like, you have a whole vicious cycle. And with the internet being the thing that most people spend a lot of time on nowadays, you get more and more of this shit being flung in your face.
Or suicidal when? Because feeling alienated under capitalism apparently isn't a thing. People are working harder and longer while wages have been stagnant. Men have been dropping out of college like flies. And what does that get you? Poor men. Which, since women are doing amazing in college now, and many are now out-earning men, this most of the time leads to single men, which then leads to lonely men, which leads to depressed men, which leads to the high suicide rate. In my opinion, leftism at a policy level does a great job addressing the shitty material conditions that in part lead to the problems that men are facing.
I agree with her perspective to a degree that it's a cycle. I don't agree with the part that you are lonely because you're single or not in a relationship. If you are poor, you can't go out and have fun with people because you are poor. And nowadays, going out is too expensive. Hanging out with people is too expensive. And then you have the group of people that don't respect you because you don't have enough money to always splurge around or take people out for fancy dinners or shit like that. So it's harder to make friends. It's harder to, like, socialize. So a lot of people spend time online or in the house and don't go out. Therefore, they're starting to lack important vitamins. Therefore, their mental goes to shit. It's a completely vicious cycle. Everything is more expensive. It's not just the fact that they're treated poorly necessarily, even though that is also a factor. It is... a lot of women won't date down. Like, a lot of people look at you and they're like, well, you earn less than me, you're too poor. Even though, funnily enough, a lot of men are willing to be housekeepers. Like, they are willing to be a house husband. I don't think I know a single guy that would say, no, I have to be the breadwinner in the family. Despite their upbringing telling them that, they are fine earning less and being the housekeeper. Which, you know... Then you look at all those people that are like, all the women that are like, no, you shouldn't be a housewife. Like, who are you to tell me what to do in my life?
but then absolutely drops the ball when it comes to everything and anything related to men's cultural issues. Many such cases. And why would a struggling man even want to move left when the left appears actively hostile to them?
The question of whether or not the hashtag online left does enough to appeal to hashtag men has become the question du jour. And like, men have most of the money, authority, and do most of the murdering and assaulting.
The average young man in America is Jeff Bezos. Also, why did this motherfucker just FBI crime statistics at me? Men do the most murder. Okay?
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve. They like
Men do the most murder. Where? Where, in what year? What statistics? Give me some numbers, mister. Like, come on. If you want to talk about the subject, do your thorough research.
Like that. They want it to stay that way because it suits them. Because of the stuff, telling people they're special and deserve all the nice shit that they have, that's going to be an easier sell 10 times out of 10 than like saying, hey, maybe you should have less stuff and other people should have more.
Sounds like a salty person. Now imagine you just replace this narrative and add any other term in there.
Leftism is when you don't have a lot of stuff. We're gonna take your stuff. You sound like a 65-year-old Fox News boomer's idea of what the left is. Are you a CIA agent? The right is saying to men, you will own a house. You will have beautiful children with your loving wife. You will have privacy. You will have free speech. You will own things, and you will be happy. And the left is like,
they like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But don't get me wrong, Republicans will not do shit. The Republican Party will not do shit. The establishment in general will not do shit to help any of this. But the right is, at least rhetorically, offering men something other than nothing or the eternal HR department. Every time this discord comes up, there's people like, we need a leftist Andrew Tate. We need masculine role models on the left. But the fact is, it's hard for progressives to organically appeal to men, because a large part of progressivism is oppressive hierarchies, and men are oppressors. Making progressivism look appealing to young men is an uphill battle from the start. And although it's funny to laugh at insane people on Twitter, as always, there have been a lot of left-wing content creators talking about men's issues.
Honestly, while I understand it's hard, potentially more so in America than anywhere else, I think the entire thing where like men are oppressors is the part where it's wrong. Cause like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew up in Europe. Boy, we don't really have those debates or problems. We don't really, like, yes, we have issues. Don't get me wrong. We also deal with a lot of problems and a lot of people being frustrated and whatnot, right? But like, I'm not talking about everyone in Europe, just myself. We don't think in terms of like an entire gender is at fault for something. I feel like this is a lot more an American problem that is sadly becoming a worldwide problem because of the fact that the internet. We never really grew up with people spewing the mentality of patriarchy and shit like that. Like, huh? So it's very weird to listen to stuff like that. It could just be in my neck of the woods. As I said, I can't speak for the entirety of Europe, but it does feel like it's less of a problem in Europe. I could be wrong.
If you would have told me this would be a thing 9 years ago, I would not believe you, because anyone talking about men's issues back in the day was called an MRA or a pick-me. But lately I have seen a lot of good pro-men lefty content, and I'll put some links to some below. I don't agree with all the points they say, but I recommend watching. It's much better than...
They like having all of the stuff they don't deserve.
But the issue is a lot of this lefty pro-men content, it's always framed around, how do we get them? As if men are just pawns and tools for your personal politics. How do we make the left more appealing to men? How do we stop lonely men from moving to Andrew Tate? Instead of just, how do we help men? And I think that's a really big issue. Both sides seem to treat men as political fodder.
You know, like, my main issue in this entire video is the fact that, like, there's even a camp. Maybe it's how I grew up, but to me, it's so weird and alien to see a camp of, like, women or men. Before I spent so much time on the internet, right? Before spending time on Twitter and shit like that, I didn't use the terms men or women. I didn't really care about separating them. For me, it's always been people. So it's like, how do you help people? How do you do stuff with people? I never heard this type of bullshit. And I never had news telling me like, oh, men this, women that. So like, has anyone ever considered just stop picking sides, stop labeling yourself as different, stop being I don't even know how to put it in words properly. Like, stop dividing yourselves. Stop putting yourselves in camps. This is the war of like women versus men. Like, it's just people. And people are lonely. Male and female.
Disposable soldiers in the culture war and real war. Anyway, misandry is real. Oh good, finally! And while it doesn't systemically affect cis men, it most certainly affects trans men. Oh. Y'all talking about misandry doesn't harm men, and trans men are right there reading this shit, by the way.
Again, why do people need to divide? It's exactly the same issue that I have. Wording. Why do you need to split it and make it more subjective? Why do you need to like constantly fracture into smaller and smaller groups?
See, now we only care about misandry because it affects trans men. Everyone stop! It's affecting a group I care about now. I love how the rhetoric just like evolved overnight from male tears to cis male tears. And I just have to ask, why aren't you including trans men in your misandry,
Nobody told me how lonely being a man is. We knew what depth felt like before we transitioned. We knew what it felt like to like have people want to hug us and to have people want to talk to us and to have a community. And then you transition and you're just a guy walking down the street that people cross the street so that they're not near you. And friendships are so much harder to build. What's hard is none of this invalidates how real and raw women and people who are in marginalized groups feel about cis white men. All of that's valid. But I also now understand why the suicide rate is so much higher in men.
Welcome to being a man. Here's your complimentary isolation and yellow pillow. I love how even when he's experiencing the issues of being a man, he's like, this doesn't invalidate people hating men. Come on.
That's the entire part that kind of like annoys me. It's like, you can't even talk about anything without making sure you release a statement where you're like, I'm not trying to go against this and that group, and I'm not devaluing the morals of this and that, and I'm just gonna put a heads up and make sure that you understand. Like, I'm just trying to express my opinion that apparently is not clear enough that I'm expressing my opinion, and I need to make sure that I tell you that you're heard. It's like, when did we reach that level where people just assume malice out of your fucking mouth? Why? Why do we need to put disclaimers in any statement that we make? And then you have the people that say men are horrible as a blanket statement, even though they don't refer to all men. But you don't need a disclaimer because it's implied that it's all men, right? No, not all men. Why do we have this level of hypocrisy? Why do we have this level of just fracturing everything and preferential treatments on social media? I don't know, man.
Bro. Men struggling don't want to be lectured about the patriarchy. They don't want to be told it's all their fault. They don't want to be told they're part of the problem because, first of all, they're not. The average 20-year-old didn't build society. They go to work, come home, off to sissy hypno fetish porn, and go to bed like everyone else. I've talked about this before, but a lot of men's value comes from the money they make, unfortunately. Men are natural providers, and if they have nobody to provide for, they get into findom or send random girls on the internet money. I'm just kidding, but the fact is, a lot of men
She's like, I'm just kidding. Are you? Are you?
simply feel like they don't have a purpose anymore.
Like, let's be real. For a lot of people nowadays, that's how they get you. That's the target audience for predators, to literally go after your wallets and to dig their claws into you. Paws with some bits. God damn it. Chad, what the heck? Just because I have a 3D model fundraiser, okay? Doesn't mean I want to prey on you.
A job or a career that's fulfilling and pays well, or a woman or family to protect and take care of and provide for. Men are lacking purpose, and a man will crawl through broken glass for a purpose.
I feel like this part is also disingenuous and propagates the whole men must men must. Yes, I know I said must 3 times, but like, does the purpose need to be for you to be a family guy? Do you need to be the one that marries and cares and provides and does everything? Or is that another thing that's just enforcing the behavior of you have to? Yes, there will be people that will feel bad and lonely because they grew up thinking that they need to provide. But that doesn't mean that's what's necessarily causing loneliness. Like, having a goal to strive for, any goal to strive for, is something that every human being has to deal with. And that goal shouldn't be revolving around someone else and trying to obtain something else. It should be a goal that you can work towards. And sometimes, like, in my opinion, dating and relationships are not a goal that you can work towards. Because you can do everything right and then you can still have someone look at you and say creep to your face, despite you not doing anything wrong.
But you know who does make them feel like they have a purpose? No, not him.
I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you.
The absolute audacity to act shocked that Andrew Tate is scooping these guys up after a decade of lol male tears is insane. Andrew Tate isn't the solution to men's problems, but he is talking to them. The fact is, you did not care about them for years, and even now you just want to recruit them, not help them. And that's why you will fail. And hey, maybe I'll be the Andrew Tate of the left. Men, listen up. Wash your penis. So I guess I'll leave you guys with a question.
Honestly, I feel like a lot of people need to inform themselves of what loneliness actually means, because a lot of people confuse being in a relationship with being lonely. You can still be lonely even though you are in a relationship, and you can still be dissatisfied with things in life and with yourself, even though you might have everything that society taught you that you need. So you could be a man that has a wife and kids and a car and a nice fancy freaking house, just like the American dream that was shared a tiny bit earlier in the video. And you can still be lonely and you can still feel unhappy. Because again, like, to me, I feel like a lot of people treat things like relationship as goals when they shouldn't treat it as a goal, because you should work on yourself and improve yourself and find purpose for yourself outside of a relationship with anyone else. Like, that's at least my opinion on things. Like, when you're when you're working towards a goal for yourself, improving yourself, right? Hence why there are people that go to the gym. A lot of people go to the gym because they work on themselves, they work on their body, they work on their health, they surround themselves with people that are doing the exact same thing. And they have that goal, they have that routine, they have that thing that they're doing for themselves. And then you have people that just don't do anything. They just sit at home on Twitter, and instead of working on goals for themselves, they look at everyone else having stuff and they're jealous and they're miserable. You end up with tweets like the ones that we saw earlier. I don't think men are okay. I don't think the internet is very kind to men. But I think the main issue that I have with this, which I said earlier, is I think in general, people need to stop dividing. They need to stop fracturing things. It doesn't matter. Like, it's not about are men okay? Are women okay? Are people okay? And the answer is no, people are not okay because everything is too expensive and living is a fucking pain right now. You cannot go out and have a nice time with your friends at a movie or have a nice dinner without thinking, well, I'm gonna have to eat less. A lot of people have to pick whether they want to survive the week or they want to go out with their friends one day, or they want to let down people or like tell them they're too poor for that shit. And most people can't even rent an apartment on their own anymore. They need to rent it with friends or live with family a lot longer because everything is more expensive, literally. So like, are people okay? No, people are not okay. And sadly, just, yeah, my advice for anyone that's feeling shitty is go out and stay in the sun for 20 fucking minutes for a week. Every day, 20 minutes, go out, sit in the sun, get some vitamin D in you. Giggity. That's my advice, at least.
Why do you think male loneliness has been increasing? What are your solutions for this problem? And are you dealing with loneliness? And I will see you guys next time with a new...
Oh, god damn it. That ending.